My name is Zach McCormick, and I am the Current's new host from 10 to 2, joined in studio right now by Angie McMahon, whose new album, Light Dark, Light Again, came out last year in October of 2023. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I've seen you reference Bob Dylan as a musical inspiration in the past, and Bob was born here in Minnesota, so fans in this state tend to be even more obsessed with his work than the average American might be. What do you connect with most about Bob Dylan's music, and how has his influence kind of shaped your own personal approach to songwriting?
Yeah, I only learned this yesterday, that he was born around here, which I thought was very cool. I've been singing a Bob Dylan cover on this tour, which has been really nice. And I think I found returning to his music. I mean, I was brought up on some folk music by my dad, and he introduced me to Dylan. He's a really big Dylan fan, and it did take me a while as a 14-year-old girl to really understand the greatness of a song like Hurricane, or it's just it's annoying, but it did plant itself in my body, and he's just such a great songwriter. He writes about the times really well, I think, and particularly lately, and singing some covers of his, I really feel just so glad that there are songs like that to return to that kind of comment on what we're living through, and living through when he was writing those songs, and still some of that stuff is so relevant. And I just find that it's a great relief and a great outlet to be able to put music to those things. And I think he's just been a really great voice for society, the things around him. And he's got some classic sonic stuff going on that is also feels really safe to return to, a nice roots for a songwriter like myself. But
kind of trying to balance that idea of being topical, but also trying to make sure that your music stays timeless. I can imagine that's tough.
Totally, and not too complex, not too convoluted, just kind of leaning into poetry. Something that my dad taught me about Dylan as well. I haven't done that much reading about him, but kind of anecdotal Dylan stuff is what I know. But he read a lot. And I think I'm really inspired by that as well. I'm not an amazing reader, but I'm always trying to get a little bit more, literature into the music and into my brain. So I really love that about him.
Let's talk about a book that I was reading has been somewhat influential on your work here, Braiding Sweetgrass by the Potawatomi author Robin Wall Kimmerer. And you mentioned in other interviews that it's had a profound effect on your mental health and your relationship into the natural world. What lessons did you take away from that book, and how did they play into more ecologically minded songs on your new record like Mother Nature?
Yeah, that book really opened my eyes to a whole new way to look at the world. I'm not sure if I can fully sum it up. I kind of am always recommending it to people. I buy it for people as birthday gifts. I gave it to my mom, and she really loves it, and gave it to some of her friends. It's just what she does really well is combine indigenous thought and these ancient practices of relating to the natural world with her experience as a botanist. She's a scientist, and she combines these two worlds really beautifully and poetically. It's such a beautiful read, but there's so much incredible indigenous knowledge, I think, that we generally just we need to learn from and listen to all of this wisdom that for me it comes down to also just simply caring about the climate crisis and how to repair the way that we treat the earth, but also just as a way to get through each day. We are surrounded by, and I didn't used to think this way, but I think this book did really open my eyes to it. We're surrounded by so much incredible nature, natural cycles, healing, and a culture of reciprocity in the natural world. And she talks about that in a way that really awoke something in me. It's so important, and it has sort of become a spiritual focus for me. So yeah, it's just such an incredible book. The first chapter is talking about the way that the earth was created, and kind of the Native American story of the creation of the earth, and it's immediately about giving back and relationship, and I was never really taught to think that way, coming from a Catholic upbringing where Adam and Eve are kind of ejected from the Garden of Eden. It's like good luck on earth, like it sucks out there, and you're just immediately in this like conflicted relationship. This just like gives it a whole new context to that. So yeah, it's been a really foundational book for me. And in terms of the songwriting, I did want to find a way to kind of write about those things, and I think her really poetic, beautiful language just like helped me care more and find words for that. Yeah,
that's great. I love how some of the songs on the new album have these almost kind of like mantra-like repetitions of lyrics, like the refrain of "It's okay, make mistakes" in the song that you performed earlier, "Letting Go." When do these mantras come to you in your songwriting process, and how do you decide which words will be most effective with those multiple repetitions?
Yeah, it's really just instinct. It's actually mostly me talking to myself.
Yeah.
A real kind of like hand on heart, soothing. It's like a self-soothing thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the decision, is just like, what does my body need right now? What am I like responding well to? There's some songs on the record where I'm really like trying to sing myself into like a calm space, and that song, I had written most of the song but didn't have the ending. I didn't have a bridge or whatever, and I was really in a perfectionist mindset and needed to like, lull myself out of that. And then the mantra kind of came. It wasn't necessarily going to be part of the song, but then it was actually the only way that I could finish the song, was to sort of like really cathartically yell myself out of like perfectionism. And so I think the repetition and the mantras are really just whatever I needed to hear. And then I'm like, hopefully this is soothing to someone else as well. And it's been a nice way to, try not to make a song like a perfect thing or like the ultimate artistic expression. It's more just like a mind-body thing. It's like, what does my body need right now? What feels good? Yeah.
That's cool. It kind of came from your own personal process of working through the record, and then the words found their way onto the album. I could totally see, those words being, like you said, helpful for other creatives or, really anybody in their lives. Like, it's okay, make mistakes.
Yeah, and when I was writing that song, I was going through a really hard time, and I'd be doing a morning meditation with like my hand on my chest, saying out loud, which I found is really helpful. I didn't used to do this, but saying out loud, "It's okay," and kind of like actually verbally soothing myself. And so it was very related to, just like my own kind of therapy needs at the time. Yeah.
That's great. You worked with producer Brad Cook, who grew up with Bon Iver just across the border in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, on your most recent album, Light, Dark, Light Again. What was that experience like, and what did Brad's influence bring to this album for you?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a brand new experience for me. I'd never, traveled across the ocean to record. I left my band back home, and Brad like pulled some really great musicians together for us to do the songs, and he was really helpful with me, like coming into like a comfortable place as a co-producer. Like he was really encouraging me to mess around in the studio. I think it's probably similar to like what the Bon Iver crew are great at, is just like experimenting with sounds and like following these threads. And it was really fun to just work with brand new people and come into my own like confidence in a new way. Like I was finally for myself finding like sonic like risks that I wanted to take, and he was just like, do that, try that, why not? And that was really fun. And we were in North Carolina. I had never been there. Again, like really beautiful nature, really beautiful place to kind of draw energy from, and just like an awesome, like challenging experience for me, but in like the best way. I wanted to like have new challenges, and I'm really glad I did that. I kind of believe in myself a bit more after having made a record that way.
That's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of collaborations, British producer and DJ Fred Again has become a vocal supporter of your music. He sampled your song Pasta for his song Angie, and the two of you recently linked up for a big show in Melbourne. What was the experience like? Is it cool to see your songs kind of translate across genre lines to fans of a different genre of music? Yeah,
totally. I have also myself in the last few years got much more into dance music, and I never really saw myself in that world. But Fred's remix or whatever, Fred's track kind of like launched me into that world without me really knowing that it was going to happen that way. I mean, I didn't really know who he was when he's kind of sent it to me, and he was like, "Do you like this?" I was like, "Yeah, put it out, that's fine." And then like fast forward a couple of years, and he's got this whole world around him, and for me it's been cool just to see the music and see myself in that world a little bit more. I'm a lot more interested in production, like I was saying, than I used to be, and I can kind of see myself making some like dance tracks now.
Cool.
And again, like it's related to like therapy and movement. Like I get a lot out of running and dancing, and I always used to be more in my mind, but now I'm like, dancing is so important, and I am excited to just kind of maybe lean into that a little bit more. I don't know how. Like I don't know if I'll actually physically make my own dance record, but it was really cool to sing at his gig and see see a whole different side of like my song. Yeah.
That's great. So moving on from collaborations that have already happened to hypothetical collaborations.
Okay.
We're both big fans of Bruce Springsteen's music, and
yes.
So I thought of a fun question for you would be like, if you could use a time machine to travel back in time to collaborate with Bruce Springsteen, kind of in any point in his career, which era would you choose? We could go for like the lo-fi, folky Springsteen from the Nebraska era. There's the skinny Ashbury Park street poet Springsteen, from early in his career, Wild and Innocent. There's the beefcake, muscular Bruce from Born in the USA era. Or maybe it's Bruce right now. You don't even need the time machine. Take your pick.
True, he's still kicking. Hard to choose. I do love the beefcake era, as you say. Like there's a lot of catharsis and entertainment there. But I mean, my favorite record is probably Nebraska. Yeah. It's funny, even as I was just singing in here before, I think I had a little bit of that in my mind. Like when I'm doing a solo thing and just kind of like on the guitar, I'm often in the mindset of like the Nebraska record and just trying to, like it's such a beautiful place for me, like sonically, and I try to return to it and just imagine like that I'm making a record like that. Having said that, if I was like in the room with him, I would just want to be a fly on the wall for that record. I wouldn't want to, I don't want to touch it. I just want to like observe. But I think that's a really beautiful place, I think, that record. A really special thing that he made. So it's probably that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Angie. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping through our studios here at The Current. Your new album, Light, Dark, Light Again, came out last year in October. It's out right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Fun.